I would like to thank Ms. Susie Johnson for that lovely selection. Now, please welcome Pastor Victor DeMond Tate from First Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. Pastor Tate, please share with us some of your aspects of dating.
Aspects of dating, I'd love to, Dr. Joy. Several aspects of dating, in my opinion. But I think that what's important is that people understand that there are different levels of dating, there are different seasons of dating. Okay. And one of the things that I think happens when you consider aspects of dating is that sometimes we do in stage 1 of dating some of the things that should be reserved for stage 4 of dating. Okay. And when you have those kind of aspects going on, then I think that that's what challenges a lot of people in relationships because maybe they're not equally yoked. Okay. And that's one of those things, if you're not equally yoked, then you're going to find yourself in trouble.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned 4 stages. Can you explain those stages to us?
Well, it's like anything else. You know, when you consider the 4 seasons of dating, I would like to, you know, sort of equate that to the 4 seasons in our natural lives: winter, spring, summer, fall. And the first stage of dating is sort of the getting to know you phase. And then, of course, you move from that phase into getting to know your background kind of deal. And sometimes, you know, people want to get into background stuff before I even know that I can trust you with my background, et cetera. And then, you know, there's the third stage when there's a decision that becomes made between two individuals that at that point you want to be an item or an exclusive item or something like that. And then in the fourth stage, you know, depending on time, you know, you may push beyond dating to the possibility of something more or something greater.
Okay. Okay, now do you think people actually go through those actual 4 stages, or do you just do it?
Actually, they probably go through it, Dr. Joy, just not necessarily in that order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's interesting to know, because there's definitely stages that you have to go through in dating. Sure. And I think it all depends on the 2 people that's dating each other.
Absolutely.
Coming together to figure out what those stages would be.
Absolutely.
So as a pastor of a big church, and this is my church, and I'm proud to say that, and most people would want to know, how do pastors date?
That's a great question. Pastors date much like everybody else. You know, there's not very much difference. I think the question that you may be getting at is, what are some of the specific nuances that we may deal with in dating as pastors that persons who are not in ministry may not have to deal with? And that's a great question. So many different nuances. Of course, one of the things that's important for me, and I would assume for other pastors, persons who deal in ministry, is the importance of finding someone who understands ministry. Very, very, very important. And so, as a pastor, as I'm dating, you know, I'm wanting to be sure that the young lady that I'm considering dating, you know, understands ministry, that she, in fact, has a relationship with Christ herself. You know, those are some of the basics. Basic nuances that we look for as pastors.
Okay. Now, you mentioned evenly yoked, and I'm going to ask you, what does evenly yoked mean to you? Does it necessarily have to be religious-wise? Do they have to, I know they have to probably be love the Lord. Sure. But what if you met someone and they didn't? Don't you think they can change?
Well, that'd be a prime example of not being equally yoked. Right. But when I consider that term, being equally yoked, what it makes me think about is the concept of being on the same page. I think that there are certain, some very basic things that have to be in place for persons to be successful at dating. And when we consider being equally yoked, that's what that gets after. What are our values? Are our morals in line with one another? You know, do we have the same values in life? You know, and then there are multitudes of questions that come from that. You know, as you look at family planning, you know, being equally yoked, you know, we both have a desire to have children. Something as simple as that could become a major issue in a relationship when somebody is family oriented, somebody is not, you know, but that's an example of not being equally yoked.
Okay. If someone was to come to you and say that they've been married probably for around 8 years and they're considering divorce, is that something that you believe in, or would you try to counsel them to stay together?
Well, there's always a place for counsel. You know, the Bible says that it's so important that in our getting that we get wise counsel. And so a couple, and I've had this happen before, who was considering divorce from any number of years, from 1 year to 25 years.
Okay.
Counseling, I think, is always good for a couple to be able to come together with an unbiased second party, to be able to talk through some of the issues that may be going on, just to see if there is a place for reconciliation. Sometimes, one of the issues that we have when you consider divorce is that by the time a couple come to the counseling session, the issues have happened for so long that many times they've really given up on the relationship or the marriage. But I think that through counseling, I also have seen many couples who reconcile and fall in love with each other all over again. So it's never too late. Never too late.
Right. So what do you think about interracial dating?
I don't have any particular thoughts on it. I just believe that if two individuals find one another and they love one another and they're equally yoked and, decide between the two of them that they have what it takes to be successful in relationship, hats off to them.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I know I talk to a lot of people who are having relationship problems as well. And I often try to tell them, how did you guys get together? And it goes back to those 4 stages you were talking about as far as communication.
Sure.
Communications is so vital.
So important.
With any type of relationship, it's really, really vital.
Yes.
So how do you get people to understand that you're not my mate, but yet I love you?
That's a great question. And I think that once an individual gets to the place where there is a level of realization that even through dating, casual or serious, that the person that they're with perhaps is not the individual, the best policy is to go ahead and have a conversation. So that everybody is on the same page, everybody understands where the other is. But I think it's important that that's something that happens sooner than later in a relationship, so that there's a lesser amount of time that lapses for people to have feelings heard and all of that kind of stuff. Okay,
now you mentioned to go ahead and have the conversation. Now, from a female's perspective, when we try to have that conversation with you guys, that comes up to the C word, which you guys don't want to hear.
I can imagine what the C word is.
So I'm sure you know the commitment.
Of course.
So with that particular word in itself, why is it that cringes with men? What would you like to give? What type of advice would you like to give the ladies today?
Well, first of all, let me just say that all men are not, afraid of commitment. True. Also the converse of that would be the extent that there are some women who have commitment issues as well. Yes. So those issues run across the board.
Exactly. He had to make that
But point. what I'd like to say to the ladies who are looking for love and wanting to find that is to be patient and to always remember that you're a treasure. And any treasure, it's incumbent upon somebody else to be able to find that treasure and to appreciate that treasure. And so often in dating today, we have people who compromise who they are for the sake of finding a mate or finding love. But you can't compromise when it comes to relationship, because if you compromise now, it'll bring you some issues down the line.
Okay. And you talk about compromising. Compromise is a big part of dating, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Compromise is a big part of any relationship, and compromise is always necessary. However, I don't think that an individual should compromise the core of who they are in relationships.
Okay. Now, when you look across the board at churches today, you see the population as mostly females. Why do you think that is?
Well, females have always generally been very supportive of our spiritual causes as you look back over history. And I think that today we see in most of our churches that played out with the numbers, et cetera, that we still have majority females in the church, but females are nurturers, they are great planners, they know how to make it happen. And so in the church, we have always depended on females to stand in the gap and make it happen. I'm telling you, I don't know if the church would exist today without the presence of powerful women who helped to make it happen.
Great, great, great. Well, I would like to thank you so very much
Oh, the
for
pleasure's
appearing
mine,
on my
Dr. Joy.
show. Thank
Indeed.
you so very much. I would like to thank Mr. Rod Mack and Pastor Victor DeMonte for their insights and joining me on this special edition of Exploring Dating and Relationships. I would also like to thank Miss Ebony Brown for makeup and wardrobe. If you have any suggestions for a new show, email me at the drjoyshow@aol.com. Stay tuned, same time, same day.